All right, today we're going to dive into this incredible, timeless vision for a better world. It's actually a prayer, and it was written by one of the true literary giants of the 20th century. I mean, that's a huge question, isn't it? What does a truly free society even look like? Well, that's the exact question this masterpiece of a poem dives into. So let's explore it. And the visionary who dared to ask this, none other than Rabindranath Tagore. Now, to really get his answer, you've got to understand the world he was living in. He wrote this poem while India was under British rule, a time when, fear was a major tool of control. And his response wasn't some long political document. No, it was this short, incredibly powerful poem.
So who exactly was this man, Rabindranath Tagore? And why does this vision, which he captured in just a handful of lines, still hit so hard more than a century later?
Calling him multi-talented is a massive understatement. The man was a true polymath. We're talking poet, playwright, novelist, painter, educator, musician. Get this, he wrote the national anthems for 2 different countries, India and Bangladesh. His level of genius was just staggering.
And yeah, the world absolutely took notice. In 1913, and this is a big deal, he became the very first non-European to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. It was for his collection called Gitanjali, which actually includes the poem we're talking about today. That prize, it really cemented his place on the world stage for good.
Okay, so let's dive into the poem itself. Tagore builds his vision of this heaven of freedom, and he starts from the ground up. It all begins with the individual.
And this is the foundation right here. It all starts with a mind that's without fear. It's about a society where people can hold their heads high, with real dignity, and where knowledge isn't some luxury for a select few, but something that is totally free and open to everyone.
So once he's established that foundation with the individual, Tagore then pans out. He starts looking at the bigger picture, at all the things that divide us as people.
He paints this vivid picture of a world that's just been shattered into pieces. And what's the cause? He calls them narrow domestic walls. Think about that. These are the walls of prejudice. Things like religion, caste, color, nationalism. All the stuff that makes us turn on each other, not just inside India at the time, but all over the world.
Yeah, that phrase, narrow domestic walls, it's just so powerful. It's such a brilliant metaphor because it can mean basically anything that creates that us versus them mindset. It's really a call for a unified global human family.
And okay, in this unified world he's imagining, communication is, it's pure. People are speaking from the depths of truth. It's about total sincerity. But it's also a society that's always pushing forward, right? This idea of tireless striving, where everyone is constantly trying to improve, to be better, to reach for perfection in whatever they do.
All right, so if that's the ideal, what did Tagore see as the biggest roadblock? What's the one thing that holds us back from actually getting to this heaven of freedom? Well, he boils it down to a fundamental choice. We have 2 paths. On one hand, you have the clear stream of reason. That's logical thinking, looking at evidence, and always moving forward. But on the other hand, you can get stuck in the dreary desert sand of dead habit. That's all about blind faith, superstition, and just sticking to old traditions that don't help us anymore.
Okay, now we're getting to the climax of the poem. And this is where it really shifts. It goes from being a description of this perfect world to something much more urgent, a really personal prayer.
You see, the whole poem is actually addressed to a higher power. He uses the words thee and my father. He's asking for divine guidance. But here's the key. He's not praying for some static, perfect world that never changes. He's praying for a world where people are always, always growing, where our minds and our actions are constantly expanding.
And this is where it all leads, the final, incredible line. It is a powerful appeal for an awakening, for enlightenment. He's not just dreaming this up for himself. He is praying for his entire country to just wake up and finally step into that state of real freedom.
So you got to remember, this whole vision was a direct response to his country living under colonial rule more than 100 years ago. But when you look at our world today, with all the amazing progress we've made and yet all the deep divisions that still exist, you really have to ask yourself, right? Have we actually let our minds become fearless? Or are those narrow domestic walls just being built again, maybe in different shapes and sizes? It's definitely something to think about.